Well, on this FHS podcast, I'm delighted to have one of our speakers from FHS Saudi sharing this room with me today as we dive into hospitality education in the kingdom. Dr. Fabien Fresnel, Chief Executive Officer of the Riyadh School of Tourism and Hospitality. Thank you, Fabien, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Now, Dr. Fresnel is a leading light in the education world, having held senior positions at EHL and then as Chief Operating Officer at Summit Education Group, where he oversaw the development and operations of more than 18 schools and campuses worldwide, serving over 25,000 trainees annually. And I'm delighted he is on such an important panel, Rethinking Hospitality Schools Education, Experience and Environment at the Next Gen Investment Forum during FHS on 11th of May. So Fabien, rethinking education in the most dynamic country in the world, I can only assume that this is possibly the most exciting chapter in your life.
You're absolutely right. As we all know, Saudis has great ambitions when it comes to tourism. The numbers, obviously, whether those are development numbers or training needs, are just mind blowing. We're talking about anything from 1 million to 2 million kids, young Saudis, to be trained in the next 10 to 15, 18 years. Of course, those numbers are a bit moving pieces, but the magnitude, the speed at which those trainings and educational tracks need to happen and materialize are just outstanding. So I'm proud and very happy to be on that journey, and hopefully we will make an impact for the good sake of the industry, the youngsters, the future generations, and to some extent Saudi Arabia and the world.
Well, we certainly need you in this position in order to provide the jobs and service that are going to be required with the pipeline coming up. But just going back a little bit in terms of your legacy in the industry, you first had 2 decades working in hotel operations before pivoting to academia, and now leading the Riyadh School of Tourism and Hospitality. What inspired this transition from that operational experience that you had being in operations to academia and now running the Riyadh School?
Well, I think the beauty, I will not detail the background because it has no interest to anyone, but I think that the beauty of education is the purpose. So, industry is absolutely wonderful. It gave me great things. And at some point, I felt, intellectually a bit under-challenged, or I wanted to study in the US. So it's the reason, first and foremost, why I went to Cornell. And then from one master's to another to PhD to education came a bit naturally, having been exposed to students in Lausanne. So again, the beauty of education is really, as you said earlier, legacy, is to work on that raw material that is the youngsters, is providing them with a future, with a career in obviously a country where the opportunities are so massive that for them, in terms of aspirations, in terms of development, there are poor kids in the kingdom, So now you bring them with a training path in addition to a career path, and I think that's emotionally speaking, that's the beauty of education. So to contribute to something that goes way beyond just a job, just a footprint somewhere, is bringing a country and the future generations to the next level and to have a bright future. So that's really what drove me and why I'm here in Saudi Arabia today and helping His Excellency Al-Khatib, Minister of Tourism, and obviously other stakeholders to drive that initiative forward.
Well, it's a considerable goal, isn't it, to do what you're doing with the school, given the fact that Saudi Arabia are investing over $1 trillion in real estate and infrastructure. 315,000 hotel keys in the pipeline, 150 million tourists annually by 2030. And education is at the center of all this, isn't it? And if we don't have that, then how the heck are we gonna be able to get a 315,000 hotel keys open?
I can only concur. And that's the reason why I'm here. You know, what you find in Saudi Arabia, you find in many places around the world is that, and that's, you know, the usual pattern is we start building assets, infrastructure, hotels, and then we often think, oh my goodness, who's gonna operate at the right level, you know, to trigger repeat business. So yes, there is no tourism strategy if there is no people strategy. So whether this is the Riyadh school, whether those are, you know, all the operators in the kingdom, there is a national need in terms of deploying a strategy to train, educate, to attract students first to an industry that today we can say around the world post-COVID is not as aspirational as it used to be. Number one is to properly train those people, those kids, quantitatively and qualitatively, to use technology to deliver scale and speed, and also then for the industry to retain those kids. Because obviously that shortage of talent means inflationary pressure on salaries, means that, you know, people, I always, and here already in the kingdom that, you know, operators, oh, but we are stealing staff to each other. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen for a period of time until the market reaches maturity. So the faster we go, the sooner we get that amount of talent at the proper level on the market, the more it will bring a relief to the operators, in addition to obviously the Saudization public policies that we have in the kingdom that want to drive those youngsters and young generations into the hospitality and tourism industry. So the need is massive, and you don't see that need anywhere else in the world. And the answer is gonna have to be multidimensional.
Yeah. And at the same time, are you seeing the interest from the Saudis as well, looking at hospitality, coming into the industry, getting an education?
I will tell you something that is maybe coming as a surprise. I found the kids here, and when I was with Sommet, we had 7,000 or 8,000, you know, young kids who came to Switzerland, to the UK, to do programs, and they still are. They are wonderful, like everywhere in the world. They want to learn. They want to build a career. Obviously, younger generations, not like me, you know, they have different aspirations, work-life balance. They want to be entrepreneur in the workplace. An industry has a role to play in that. But I mean, in terms of the youngsters, they're great. I was, you know, visiting training centers, meeting with students, all of them smiling. Ladies, I was amazed, you know, outspoken, very excited about the industry, about the job prospects. I mean, the beauty of Saudi Arabia with those youngsters is that the need is so enormous, is that they can build a career very fast. You know, there were kids that had been promoted 3 times within 12 months. You don't see that anywhere else in the world. So not only are they excited about the industry, and there's obviously more work to do to bring them to that industry, to be proud of being associated with KSA 2030 and an economy that is willing to pivot, you know, towards tourism. It's a big thing, but I don't see any issue on the contrary with those youngsters and the young generations in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're fantastic.
And that's good to hear. But what are some of those main barriers to attracting more youth? Because we're going to need to attract an awful lot of youth to the sector. What would those barriers be?
Well, I think, and I want to be politically correct, but I think pre-COVID and COVID damaged a bit the image of hospitality. We've seen that in other markets, in China, in India, for example, but not only. So industry, governments, NGOs need to somehow restore the aspirations or the glamour, if I may say, around an industry that has lots, of potential. That's one. Two, I think education, we need to innovate. And I'm not going to bash on my former employers or the providers out there, but we are in an industry, whether this is a private, public, we've been very conservative. So we need to drive innovation to reduce training times, to make them more efficient, to make them younger, not like us, so that we also during the training answer the students' aspirations. So there needs to be obviously on the smartphone AI driven, AI champion and tutors to think language learning differently. I mean, there are plenty of things that to attract them into those education paths and in the workplace, we need to do as educators and operators to really, again, make it a bit more glamorous, make it a bit more modern and appealing to the young generation. And it's doable. It's just that you need firepower, you need funding, you need the right people, and you need the right tech. But again, tech seen as an enabler, not as an end solution, because you want also those kids to be engaged.
Yeah. Do you, I certainly have found in my career in hospitality, working in hospitality real estate to begin with, then in events with IHIF and AHIC, now FHS, that the industry has become much more leading edge. It's become very aspirational in terms of some of the successes we've seen, from startups to new lifestyle brands to those leaders who have really innovated and made a difference to the industry. And perhaps that's what we need to see more of in Saudi. We need more leaders who can show the way for those youngsters, that it's not all necessarily all about the big corporate world as well. It's about innovation. It's about lifestyle. It's about innovating in this sector.
I agree with you, and at the same time, and I'm young, I'm very humble and young to Saudi and to that game. So I have lots of respect for what's happening. It's new. We're talking about pivoting an economy. We're talking about tourism, something that, was not in the pipe 5-7 years ago. So already to have that conversation, those initiatives, is just amazing. So obviously you need more role models. You need more entrepreneurs. And my goal is to have within RSTH an incubator where we're going to take all those, goodwill and talent from all over the world to incubate the project, whether sustainability, tourism, educational initiatives, or any entrepreneurship, stream that we may see out there. But the more it will progress, the more the industry will advance, the more people will be trained and will become GMs and hotel managers and director of food and beverage and, set the stage and become ultimately instructors and faculty. But again, it's nascent. So it's also difficult to ask a country after 2, 3, or 5 or 6 years of that magnitude of an initiative to be as, I would say, sophisticated as more mature markets like Europe or United States or some parts of Asia. So it's going to take time, and we all know education takes time. Unfortunately, Saudi doesn't have time. So what is it that we can do to speed that up? And again, that's why I said it's multi-dimensional. We need tech, we need entrepreneurs, we need role models, we need different solutions to address different market needs. We need to localize the trainings with different modular and mobile solutions. It's not one shoe's going to fit all. It really needs to be, again, a panel of solutions to answer those market needs. But, I'm not worried about the appetite of the youngsters. I think if they see pride and they are proud to be in this sector, to help pivot an economy, to be associated with the success of that venture, it all boils down, to the individuals. And those youngsters are are very proud, and they will be proud to be associated with that industry, I'm sure.
Okay, interesting. One of our objectives with the Next Gen Investment Forum, part of FHS Saudi, is to bridge that gap between academia and industry, and bring us all together. What have you found is the most effective way to ensure that graduates are work ready for, the NEOMs, the Red Sea projects of this world? Um, give us your insight there.
I think we often talk about this, the gap. I don't think there is any gap between industry and educators. I think there's a different perspective and there's a different timing. Industry needs, they want today what they needed yesterday, which is absolutely understandable. Training institutions, academia, they work on geological horizon. It takes 4 years to put a bachelor graduate on the market. It takes X amount of time to grow a program and to put it on the market. So the speed at which, and that's something we will try to really achieve, the speed at which, and the necessity is not at the same, the momentum is not the same. So maybe there is some misalignment coming from there, but I talked to, John Pagano, I talked to Jerry Inzerillo, I talked to Mr. Aldawood. We're aligned. I want to supply the market. I want to fulfill their needs in a, speedy manner, but at the right level, because if we do things, we do them right. Because you want to trigger repeat business, you want that tourism to be sustainable, and the competition is massive around there. So I don't think in terms of gap, I think in terms of, for us educators to accelerate, to innovate so that we have more speed than academic institutions have, and for industry to embed into their, I would say, daily practices, something that can help retain the kids so that the efforts that you do on one hand, is sustainable and they're going to, the stickiness to the industry need to increase. And that's true everywhere. But that's even more so important here in the kingdom where you already have a massive talent shortage.
No, and also looking at female participation in the Saudi hospitality industry. We've been running our Women Power campaign for the last year or so, and again we're running with that. But it's below 10%. So everything that we can do collectively is to empower women in the sector is a good thing. What are you doing as an institution? And actually, I would like to ask you a little bit about the school itself. So we'll move on to that in a minute in terms of, when you're looking to open, et cetera, et cetera. But what are you looking to do to focus on women at the school?
The good news is, Jonathan, the training institute I visited, 60% of the participants were female students. And most of hotel schools around the world, the range is between 50-60%. So on that front, I'm not worried. Two, I think there are programs in the kingdom today, whether this is in sports or other venues, where they will help career switches, married women with children, to help them, get a job, get a career. So I'm not too concerned about attracting, and I found them wonderful. They were, as I said earlier, they were outspoken, participating, excited about the industry and the career perspective. So I'm not too worried because, again, there are lots of initiatives out there on the market to drive female in the sector. And again, if the sense of pride and belonging is there, I don't see any issue whether we're talking about male or female. But even more so with ladies, I think it's also a way for them to, get into the job market, build a career, get leadership positions. So I can only see positive signs on that front.
Okay, that's good to hear. And my question in there about the school itself, which I probably should have asked you right up front, but tell us a little bit about the school and where you are on the journey to opening.
That's a good question. I arrived in the kingdom January 13, so that's it's 3 months now. So the school is a massive project. It's supposed to deliver 20,000 students a year plus. So it's going to take few years, say let's say 2028 would be the opening date. But that being said, we're going to start June 2025 to ramp up. So to start launching programs, first vocational, second higher education, so that by 2028, when we open the campus, we have already in the pipe 5, 6, 7,000 students. So there will be a progressive ramp up. Obviously, as I said, we need to set up legal entity, all the stuff that the institution needs, accreditation. But, right from the start now, in the next couple of months, we will launch training initiatives here in Riyadh and other places, so that we get the kids out there, we can test our tech solutions, we can have obviously industry feedback on level of training and, as you said earlier, jobs preparedness. And obviously trainings will be combined with internship, industry exposure, apprenticeship model. So we're going to test all of that during the next few years, and obviously ramp up as fast and as big as we can to get to those 5, 6, 7,000 students that we can plug into the school when it opens by 2028.
Okay, great. Technology. It must be quite difficult to look forward and say, okay, this is the school I need in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, when it comes to the rapid development of technology and how education fits into that, particularly when it comes to AI with VR glasses. How are you exploring this whole area, and what are you trying to do?
First, Jonathan, if we go back 15 years, when, MOOCs were launched, everybody say, oh, massive online open courses, this is the revolution. Classes will disappear. Kids will be online. Didn't happen, During COVID, classes were performed online. Everybody was desperately looking for, returning on campus. So I don't know. I'll be dead potentially, but I don't see the face-to-face interaction with a faculty member and instructor to disappear anytime soon. Second, I see technology as an enabler, again, to deliver speed, scale. So what is it that we can do with tech, AI? Again, Google Glasses is more, sorry for the wording, to me is more gadget than anything else at this stage, at least. But what tools can we use? I'm thinking, and we are working already on language, there are already providers to, again, 1, 2, 3 different angles through which we can tackle English. It's a big thing here to bring the kids to that B1 level, to general English, to hospitality and tourism English. So there are tools. We are currently designing solutions, immersive as we can, but it won't be fully online. You're going to have digital classes. You're going to have AI tutors. You're going to have face-to-face interaction, and you're going to have self-paced. So it's not one answer. Again, it's a multidimensional answer to one problem. 2, skill-based learning. I was with the providers a couple of hours ago. People train Amazon, the big name of this world. What is it that we can do to also speed up the process so that kids have an AI champion, not only during their educational journey, but also in the workplace? So there are solutions. We're going to complement the face-to-face. So they will be, say, 80% on the spectrum, from, say, 100 or 90% digital to 10% digital through AI and other means. And on that spectrum, you're going to have vocational, higher ed, exec ed, upskilling, reskilling. So again, it's not one solution is going to answer the needs of the market. Multiple innovations with, different tech enablers along the way. And of course, it's evolving. So we need to be agile. Going back to innovation in education, I think if there's one word we want to bring here with the RSTH is really bring innovation into the educational sphere, especially in hospitality /culinary /tourism education, which I haven't seen for the last 20 years, really.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? And my view of ESG, particularly sustainability, it's all about innovation. And I would imagine this is a key focus for you as well, is this whole ESG movement going on at the moment. I think we've had a little bit of a setback in the US, but it's going to continue. I think there's a momentum going forward with this area, and I'd be interested to hear how you're embracing that into education.
It's always an interesting question, Jonathan, when it comes to ESG, because people tend to talk a lot about it. Me, I see ESG, as it needs to translate into something. So it's not only part of the curriculum. Let me rephrase. You don't teach ESG. It's a behavior. It's a culture. It's a mentality, So the way the campus is designed, the way it operates, the way you teach, how you embed ESG in your different courses and dimensions. This is ESG. So you want the kids to have, I would say, the ESG culture, mentality to go out there, so that when they're confronted with situations or tasks by the groupers, so you don't vote basically ESG. It needs to be embedded in something. So, and I was, we had the discussion in the Kingdom already. Said, we need to build the ESG course. I said, what do you do in an ESG course? You need to recycle the soap, or you need to do a greenhouse on campus? Yes, we will do all of that. We'll have solar panel. We'll have greenhouse. We're going to grow our own veggies. But more to show, to feel, to work on it, and to say, okay, if we do this, this is the impact. If we do proper waste management, this is the impact. So that those solutions, those concepts that we grow within the campus, within trainings, can be used, transposed, in the workplace. But again, it's more, I would say, behavioral skills, the mentality and the culture built around ESG, than, having a course, a 30-hour course on ESG per se. That's how I see it. And that's, how I think we will deploy it in our initiatives.
But also to showcase new tech enablers that can facilitate change as well. And the educational environment, of course, is a hotbed for that type of activity as well. So no doubt you'll be showcasing, some of the latest ideas coming into the industry, or could come into the industry.
Again, it's not Fabien Fresnel who will do everything. You need to have the right people. You need to have, again, what you find in education is people like me or you. We are not the youngsters of this world. So we need to bring the youngsters around the table. How do you see ESG? What do you think we should do? How you want us to showcase it? So what I also want to achieve with the RSCH and other initiatives is really to bring the kids, to have them work, on those case studies, on those student business projects, because they're smart, and often the ideas that they come up with are far more powerful than some of the ideas you would find in the market. So associate the youngsters, the graduates, with the thinking process and how they see the future of the country, basically. And those initiatives is going to be critical. And obviously, and that means technology, that means enablers, that means, which are more solutions, I would say, assets to facilitate that. But the thinking needs to come from the people and from the young generations.
Well, there's obviously a lot of thought leadership that's going into this in terms of, what's happening in the Red Sea, NEOM. 85% of LEED certified hotels in Middle East and North Africa are in Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot happening in this space, and great leadership there. In terms of predictions about how hospitality education in Saudi Arabia will look, say by 2030, and the role that you're playing, what's your prediction on where it's going to be in the next 6-7 years?
If you ask me which role I would like to play, I will convey exactly what I told His Excellency a couple of hours ago, is that I think RSTH is the tip of the iceberg. What we need to do is to have certainly a magnet for, international recognition, attracting the best faculty and students, but also to provide the market with the talents it needs. But what we need is to build a constellation, an entire ecosystem of training centers, educational facilities to localize the trainings, to be close to the young generations. The youngsters, they want to be close to the family. You want to be close to the job reservoirs. So one school is not going to do it all. So how I see it is that by 2030, you have RSTH, you have 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 or more training centers around the kingdom, growing, so that first you can deliver the numbers, and two, you can localize the needs, as we did in South Africa when we were with Summit, And again, I need to still learn, but what I learned so far is that family is important. Kids want to be close to the relatives. They want to be close to the jobs. So having something in Riyadh is going to be critical. Having something disseminated, and clusterized around the country is going to be absolutely critical for the future. Because as you said, Red Sea is Red Sea, Neom is Neom. It's, 1,300 kilometers away from Riyadh. So you will need those sub-schools and satellites here in the kingdom by 2030 and beyond, definitely.
Well, Fabien, thank you so much for joining my podcast today. Very, very much look forward to seeing you at our Next Gen Investment Forum at FHS. And thank you for participating. Thank you for your input as well into our industry, your valuable input into our industry over the years, and particularly now in what you're doing in Saudi. But very much look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Jonathan.